not funny, okay?
Please remain calm. The situation is under control.
Somebody's done something in my flat.
Those people outside in the orange
They're
suits.
hazmat suits.
Everyone's doors, windows
Sealed shut.
Tom Yamas is in Central Park where that emergency field hospital is being set up.
How quick and stark it was. The incongruous sight of a field hospital in Central Park, a tourist hotspot now called the Hot Zone.
Robin, good morning to you. As you know, Central Park is an oasis for so many that live here in New York City, and now it's going to be a place where people are brought hoping not to die. And Robin, I got to be honest with you, when we drove in here this morning and you see these white hospital tents, it really hits you. This is Central Park, and this is a field hospital. The group Samaritan's Purse hopes to have it up and running by tomorrow. They're going to have 68 hospital beds, and Robin, they tell me they will be treating COVID-19 patients.
Stunning announcement. Hollywood legend Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson revealing they have the coronavirus.
More deaths, more cases as thousands of Americans begin to self-quarantine.
I have no reason to believe that I'm immune to COVID-19.
It poses a greater global threat than terrorism.
Now here in New York City, a state of emergency declared as well.
The turmoil on Wall Street amid the coronavirus outbreak.
There's no treatment known. There's no vaccine.
This as New York bans all gatherings of 500 people.
Panic is rippling through the global stock market.
More than 10,000 school closures nationwide.
Shops, cafes, restaurants, bars, all forced to close.
And rising fear, officially a global pandemic.
All games for all teams suspended until further notice.
As many as 45 million of us might be killed by it.
This is a flu. This is like a flu.
Coronavirus is spreading in the United States.
The number of cases has risen to 732.
We're going to be pretty soon at only 5 people, and we could be at just 1 or 2 people over the next short period of time.
The CDC said people should avoid crowds. Also, you should avoid shaking hands.
In the swirl of scandal, Melania Trump stayed silent.
Yeah, it's not always pleasant, of course, but I know what is right and what is wrong and what is true and not true.
Escalating crisis between the president and the states over the coronavirus pandemic.
It has nothing to do with the president or federal policy or anything.
The inside story of how the outbreak began in the United States.
The reason Washington State found that first case is we were ready for it.
You know, my uncle, he was at MIT. He taught at MIT. He was a great super genius. I like this stuff. I really get it.
Faith must be fostered by the man or woman you see every day in the mirror.
It is down. Oh my goodness, I thought this was just triple digits.
Within moments of this Costco opening, a sea of shoppers came back to this area where the water and paper goods are stored.
Washington State has declared a state of
emergency. It's going to all work out. Everybody has to be calm. It's all going to work out. The governor is a snake, okay? Inslee. Let me just tell you, we have a lot of problems with the governor. And the governor of Washington, that's where you have many of your problems.
Worried customers have been snapping up everything in sight. Store shelves nationwide are dwindling or totally empty, like at this Target near Washington, D.C.
I can't believe what people are doing inside. Shelves are empty.
Everyone, I think, is just in a bit of panic.
The sudden push for preparedness has stores rushing to replenish. President Trump urging moderation from consumers.
You don't have to buy so much. Take it easy. Just relax.
This freezer section nearly bare. Here, produce gone.
Today, President Trump took decisive action to minimize the risk of the spread of novel coronavirus in the United States. Since taking office, President Trump has been clear. His top priority is the safety of the American people. In addition to the step, I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
The U.S. now.
You have the unwavering support of the entire nation. Great ship is a 70,000-ton message of hope and solidarity to the incredible people of New York.
This is a public health emergency. This is a matter of life and death. The economy we can fix.
An unbelievable sight. Thousands of people waiting for their turn to get food. Here's some footage from our Lions Roofing news chopper showing cars snaking through a crowded parking lot at the Mesa Convention Center. People started lining up for the United Food Bank's Help Yourself around 5 this morning. Just as the need for food is great, the amount of volunteers helping out also made a huge difference.
The recently passed CARES Act directs more federal funds to food insecurity, including $300 million for purchases for the Emergency Food Assistance Program.
Bumper-to-bumper traffic for miles waiting to get into food banks.
We have to do this to survive. 4 little kids in the car, and she says, I'm a waitress and I don't have any food.
Rows deep. People started arriving here at 10:30 this morning, even though food distribution. The Caring Ministry at Stillwell Baptist Church has become a lifeline for families from all over Kansas.
Hoping that this adds some security to their life, that they have food, and that it takes the insecurity away of where their next meal is coming from.
Janice. Janice has worked at an optometrist office for a long time, but like so many others, she found herself out of work. So to keep busy, she came down here to volunteer. Now everyone
It's a virus like the flu. All the talk about coronavirus being so much more deadly doesn't reflect reality.
This virus should be compared to the flu.
It is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu.
The virus is not under control. Begin tonight with America bracing for what could be the worst of the coronavirus outbreak in the days ahead. The Trump administration warning it could be, quote, the hardest and saddest week yet.
We cannot take it anymore. We are in the middle of a crisis and we need to act like it.
They gave us one on Monday, one on Thursday. Turn in your old one, you'll get the new one. We said that's unacceptable. Now they're saying they're going to give us one a day, where normally we would use many in a day to take care of patients.
Let me protect myself. Let me feel safe. I have family that I have to come home to. My heart feels like it's in my stomach. I feel like I'm very heartbroken.
Gladys, go. Hold the curtain, please. Hold the curtain.
Actually, Stefan, it's a doctor's story, and her story is personal and very emotional. She's treating some of the most serious patients, COVID-19 patients, here at North Shore University Hospital, and she describes the last 10 days as among the saddest and most harrowing of her entire career.
expectation is between a year and 18 months, honestly.
Anybody that wants a test can get a test.
There has been a lag in the ability to get tested.
You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
No.
At an overwhelmed hospital in Brooklyn, these nurses are wearing homemade protection over their scrubs.
It is about the same.
ICU nurse Shelly Kelly is on the front lines at the Field Hospital in Central Park. After a grueling 12-hour shift this weekend, she shared some sobering thoughts.
Walking into the hospital, very different feel at this period of time.
That different feeling, she says, is one of helplessness.
Contact tracing is a very real way the World Health Organization traces a virus's roots. Finding patient zero is the best way to figure out where the disease came from and how many places it's spread to. But it's not always possible to find patient zero. Agents really do watch security footage, travel the world to interview people, and put themselves in danger by pursuing the disease. Definitely noticed how the camera always zooms in on people touching different surfaces, spreading around those fomites that Kate Winslet warns everyone about. Later, we see what happens in a bar. The bartender touching his face and then cleaning the glasses, which shows us how important it is to stay away from public food and drink sources during pandemics.
Very warm in this table class.
The introduction of every city includes an on-screen head count, and that's really important. Tokyo's is 36.6 million, and Minneapolis is 3 million. This is to show the amount of potential carriers and victims as the virus travels. It also highlights the numbers game involved with pandemics. MEV1 was spreading way too fast for it to have actually infected that many people. A virus needs living hosts to spread from person to person. The people who get taken out by the virus expire very quickly.
Quarantining those who we believe were exposed.
It's going to be all over the news big time.
Dr. Cheever, how many people are infected and how many have died?
So our first job with these things.
Coronavirus response last week.
Gates is now in self-quarantine.
It is very, very difficult to contract this virus.
This is a highly contagious virus.
This came out of nowhere and actually came out of China, which is the way it works.
Matt Damon reveals that his oldest daughter has recovered from coronavirus. In a virtual interview with Dublin's radio station Spin 1038,
Kate Winslet isn't the only one having trouble following through. This nun is working with some of the sickest patients, but she's only wearing gloves and a mask. This is a pretty big downgrade from the hazmat suits most of the medical staff is wearing.
Travel ban began preventing entry for those traveling from 26
I'll refer to 3
European
points
countries.
specifically: disease origin, transmission speed,
and people touch their faces thousands of times in one day. And before Kate's character gets sick, she tells her partner to stop touching his face so much, but later that same day, the introduction of every city includes an on-screen head count, and that's really important. Tokyo's is 36.6 million, and Minneapolis is 3 million. This is to show the amount of potential carriers and victims as the virus travels. It also highlights the numbers game involved with pandemics. When we learn that the virus has taken out over 26 million people, and if he was just about as lucky as Matt Damon's character, who had immunity, which is definitely more luck-based than a statistic problem. Compared to the head counts from earlier in the film, the number is bigger than entire state populations and almost as big as one of the most major cities in the world.
Between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, elevator buttons, and each other. Those things become fomites.
Actor shares that his stepdaughter, Alexia, goes to college in New York City and had coronavirus really early on, along with her roommates. Fortunately, Alexia got through it fine. Meanwhile, Matt has been social distancing in Ireland with his wife, Luciana, and their 3 younger daughters.
He's gone inside to see the patient who's struggling with breathing. You get a real sense of just how much
pressure, how much work these paramedics are having to do.
An ER that's become a war zone, where there's a constant crush of COVID-19 casualties.
In addition to people causing the environmental destruction that leads to the bat traveling around with the disease, human panic is what leads to the most problems. The trash in the streets, businesses and cars being broken into, panic buying supplies. These all lead to some of the most pressing issues that cause people like Matt Damon and his daughter to stay stuck inside.
Jory, don't touch anything.
Help me.
It's 71 more than yesterday. The number of deaths continue to climb as well. 18 people have now lost their lives to complications.
Sorry. Oda. I know, it's a lot. Sorry.
Oda, I'm so sorry, hun. Take a moment.
Sorry.
It's a lot. I know where your heart is, my dear. I do.
Necessary to show a little emotion. ABC's David Wright looks at our leaders and when it's okay to cry.
They might be doing it because they've got a 5-year-old child who's been going through cancer treatments. They might have vulnerable adults in their life who are currently have COVID and they're fighting.
Our watchdog never lost a step.
Could cry at the drop of a golf legend.
They helped give birth to a superstar.
The world seemed to be weeping.
Tutti fragili e disorientati.
We have realized that we are in the same boat, Francis said. All of us fragile and disoriented, but at the same time important and needed. All of us called to row together.
I've been watching them bring in trailer trucks, freezer trucks. They're freezer trucks because they can't handle the bodies. There's so many of them.
But Trump hasn't broken down. Contrast that to the man running against him. Joe Biden has to show empathy and the need to appear in command. We're still...
Hart Island is New York City's Potter's Field, where those with no family or means to arrange a funeral are laid to rest. They used to bury 25 people a week here. In the age of the coronavirus, it's about that number every day. Counting the dead is now part of the daily routine for the governor.
These are just some of the nurses, doctors, health and social care assistants, all who've sacrificed their lives to save ours. The Black, Asian and minority ethnic workforce in the NHS are being hit hard by this deadly virus, and we need to know why.
Infected that many people, a virus needs living hosts to spread from person to person. The people who get taken out by the virus expire very quickly, which means that they have less of a chance of giving the virus to others since they spend a lot of less time out in the world.
Beers?
Dr. Cheever, I think I'm sick.
What? What's going on? What kind of symptoms do you have?
Can't swallow. Severe headache.
What's your temperature?
101.8.
You take a solid flu vaccine, you don't think that would have an impact or much of an impact on corona?
A very serious way. And after a 6-week period of a shutdown that's more extreme than even the best states in the United States are likely to do.
this is going to be weeks and weeks and weeks. This is going to be a long day. And it's going to be a hard day. And it's going to be an ugly day. And it's going to be a sad day.
You know, I think in the medium term or the short term, it will be people with masks and people not touching each other and so on. But I just hope and pray in the long term that it is back to normal. I do not want to surrender to this virus and never touch people again.
For hosting us.
All triggered by the death of George Floyd, an unarmed black man who died whilst in police custody.
But in a way, the rate at which the virus progressed would have hindered its ability to become a highly infectious pandemic. But human rights and economic shutdowns are always major issues the government has to consider when deciding how much of society needs to go into lockdown.
We have a great country. That's my thoughts. John, it's coming back strong. It'll be greater than ever before.
Did you mention seeing anyone who was sick? We're investigating all of
No, I think I have a right to know. Look at where I am here. Look at where I am here.
I can't.
I
can't disclose that.
Kate Winslet isn't the only one having trouble following through. This nun is working with some of the immunity is unpredictable, which is why the doctor tells Matt Damon that his daughter might not be immune just because she's his daughter.
You're worried about your health, about your family's health, about your job, your savings, about paying rent, about the kids not being in school.
2 hours after the 8 p.m. curfew, the Owhijin shop was caught between two lines of police.
You are looking at live pictures from Newscopter 7. This is happening as we see it. We have been told that this is one of at least 15 NYPD vehicles that have been damaged or destroyed in the unrest around New York City tonight. This, the fire department has just rolled up on this. When we were live with you just a little while ago.
I'm sure. 103.5? That's not good.
Right now, look at they're all still fucking right there. Come on. Tell them to calm down.
Wash your hands like your life depends on it. Because right now, in particular,
please do your part. Other generations have been asked to do extraordinary things. We're being asked to just stay at home.
Cemeteries really aren't letting anybody in. The cemeteries are limited for the most part to people staying in their cars and just watching the burial from the graveside.
What is clear inside St. Joseph's is the inherent goodness of this country, the selflessness and the heroism of its people, however politically divided it may be.
I hope they had a wife and husband.
And fake news. In the movie, they're represented by Jude Law's characters, a blogger.
This is a rescue mission that you're on. The mission is to save lives.
That's the big one. Thank you.
President Trump Friday, during a meeting, he praised the work being carried out by rescue officials and said he wanted the relief effort to stand as an example of how to respond to a storm.
Aiming purpose that generating traffic for his website.
2 million unique visitors all looking for the truth.
Bleak, long lines of the sick waiting to be tested. A virus already out of control. And a country, the most powerful on earth, overwhelmed. America went from just 15 cases of coronavirus in the last week of February